Hello and welcome back. Today I'm going to be talking about chapter 3. So let's get that screen share going and get it started. So chapter 3 is anatomy of the nervous system. And so we're going to start with talking about our objectives, if I can get there. And let me put it on the slideshow. Okay, well, we're going to start by discussing the divisions of the nervous system. We'll explain the structure of the spinal cord and the ins and outs of the spinal cord, and then we're going to hit the autonomic nervous system in some detail and talk about the parasympathetic nervous system. Okay, well, let's just go ahead and get started with the divisions of the nervous system themselves. So we have the entire nervous system that runs throughout the whole body. And then that can be subdivided into the CNS and the PNS, or the central nervous system and the peripheral nervous system. The central nervous system just consists of the brain and spinal cord, therefore central to the body. And the peripheral nervous system are the nerves that are running out of the spinal cord and into the rest of the body. And so what we have in terms of this CNS is really all the processing that's done in the brain, all of our thinking, so to speak. And that's why I have analysis and decision, making decisions and doing analysis. And then with the peripheral nervous system, we're really looking at detecting what's going on in the world, all the sensory information is coming in, and then also execution, which is doing stuff, right? Now, the peripheral nervous system, all the nerves of the body, can be divided into two more groups. One is the somatic nervous system, and that's what's basically all of the skeletal muscles and organs, sense organs. And then we have the autonomic nervous system, and these are going to be controlling some of your more automatic organs like your heart and your intestines and stuff like that. So there's slightly different groups of nerves there. Okay, I want to talk a little bit about anatomical direction because it will help you to learn some of these parts of the brain. So generally we think of the back side, we call it the dorsal side, and you can see on an animal the top of the head is also the dorsal side. That is true in humans as well, where the top of the head is also dorsal. But notice that the other side is the ventral side, and that's the stomach side, true in humans as well. But also it is the face side. It's going to be true there. So you get a strange little turn here, and that has to do with being bipedal. Lateral means to the outside, medial means to the inside. And there's a few more terms here that we'll cover as we go along, but this just helps you to learn some of the parts of the brain are named after these. Okay, so let's talk a little bit about the structure of the spinal cord, objective number 2. The spinal cord, of course, runs up and down the spine, and it is segmented. So what happens with each vertebra is that you're going to get a segment that's going to contain a sensory nerve and a motor nerve coming out. And on the dorsal root, remember, dorsal means backside, so this is on your butt side. In the dorsal roots, we're going to have sensory information coming in to the spinal cord. And we have there, we can always recognize the dorsal root because there's something called the dorsal root ganglia. Because of the sensory neurons there are unipolar neurons, they are going to have kind of a cell body that's hanging off of them. And those cell bodies kind of clump together in something that's called a ganglia, which is a group of nerve tissue. And it's located just outside of the spinal cord. I'll show you in a minute in a picture. So that's how we can recognize the dorsal root. Dorsal is always sensory. Ventral root is coming in from the stomach side to the spinal cord, and that's motor information that's going out of the spinal cord. So that's what's going to cause our movements are coming out in that direction. The cell bodies there, because the motor neurons look a little bit different, the cell bodies are located inside the cord, so you don't see the ganglia there. Now, if we cut the cord, if we cut the spinal cord at one of those segments, you're going to have no sensation or movement below that cut because that part of the body is what it serves. So if you cut around the waist area, you're not going to have any sensation or movement in the legs. Recognize that we're going to lose both sensation. So you're going to feel a paralysis but you're also going to lose movement. So you won't feel anything and you won't be able to move because we have both sensory and motor neurons coming out of there. Here we see a segment of the spinal cord, a section of the spinal cord, and you can see here the dorsal root is on the back side, and we see that dorsal root ganglion there, and then that carries into the spinal nerve. The ventral root is on the stomach side, and there we do not see the ganglion there. That's going to be the motor nerves. Here you see the full spinal cord, and you can get an idea where if it gets cut right here, there goes your legs. If it gets cut right here, you're going to lose your abdomen and your legs, you know, anywhere where it gets cut. Of course, the worst injuries are way up here in the neck. Okay, so ask yourself, which paths are afferent, which paths are efferent? Hopefully you remember those terms from a previous chapter. Okay, objective number 3, we're going to detail the autonomic nervous system. So we're taking a look at just that area of the peripheral nervous system that we call autonomic. So remember, the peripheral nerves break into the somatic and autonomic nervous system. We're just talking about the autonomic here. So this just kind of gives you a picture of that part. This part of the nervous system is all in blue here, is the autonomic nervous system. The central nervous system is in yellow on here. Okay, well, let's take a look in more detail at that autonomic nervous system. The autonomic nervous system is going to be the sensory and motor nerves branching from the spinal cord to the heart and other organs. This is a kind of automatic part of the peripheral nervous system. So in the sense that it's involuntary, you don't decide for your heart to beat. You don't have to. It does it on its own. You're breathing and stuff like that. That's all autonomic. So this gets, the autonomic nervous system gets further divided into 2 different types of nerves. One is the sympathetic nerves, and the other is the parasympathetic nerves. So we call that the sympathetic nervous system and the parasympathetic nervous system. The sympathetic nervous system is involved in the fight or flight reaction. We're gonna use norepinephrine, which tends to be a real excitatory neurotransmitter. It acts very fast, and that is when we get stressed out. The parasympathetic nervous system is when we're trying to calm down. That's going to use mainly acetylcholine. Now, both of these tend to work antagonistically. So you're not calm at the same time that you're stressed, but every once in a while they work together. And so, for example, in the male sexual response, you're going to see it's important for men to remain calm or be relaxed enough in order to get an erection, but then you got to be excited enough in order to ejaculate. So you do see sometimes them working together, but typically they tend to be antagonistic, meaning if one is high, the other one is low. Okay, I want you to take a look carefully at this slide, and you might want to pause it and just read through some of these things that are caused by the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous system, because they're very different reactions there. Okay, take a look at the autonomic nervous system here, and you can kind of see the sympathetic nerves on this side. You see the parasympathetic nerves in blue over here. Notice that the sympathetic nerves are very close together, and the synapses with nerves outside of the spinal cord are very close to the cord for the most part. They don't have to travel very far before they synapse with another of the peripheral nerves. So here we have, again, sympathetics are going to be using norepinephrine. They're going to be acting very fast. They act all together, so all this stuff happens at once. Your mouth gets dry, you start shaking, you get cold, you know, chills and all of that stuff all at once. Your heart starts beating real hard. The parasympathetic acts a little bit more independently. They tend to kind of calm down at different rates. You know, you might still be sweating, but your heart calms down or something like that. You can see they're far apart from one another in this cord. And also notice that when they synapse outside of the cord is a ways away from the spinal cord itself. So, so there we see acetylcholine being the most active. Okay, we'll hit objective 4 next time. Hope you enjoyed the video. Have a great day.